Call to order the meeting of Monday, June 22nd. If the clerk would please take the roll.
Councilmember Archibald.
Here.
Councilmember Ashford.
Present.
Councilmember Beeden. Here. Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Pemberton.
Here.
Councilmember Warden.
Here.
Mayor Rapp.
Here. You have the minutes from the regular meeting of June the 8th. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So move, Madam Chair.
Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, is there any changes to the minutes? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes will stand as submitted. We do have 2 public hearings tonight. If the clerk would please read the first one.
To hear comments on the continuation of the Downtown Special Assessment District for the ongoing maintenance of the Huron Avenue Streetscape Project. Following the hearing, Council will consider adoption of the resolution to continue the Special Assessment District.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to public hearing number 1 on the Huron Avenue streetscape?
Yes, Mayor and Council, Larry Jones, Landmark Port Huron. We have a couple buildings down through town, and we got these in the mail. I added up, and it's $4,542 a year. So 10 years is like $45,000. And, what are we getting for that? We get snow removal, we get salt, we get, some flower beds and a little bit of water. The frustration is we're out there watering with a water hose also because the water beds are not getting water, in the locations where they should be. And there could be some more water heads put in. So that they were watered properly. We've been talking about music, in the street and hanging baskets in the street to beautify our downtown. Those are the things that, we're trying to, which we have been working very well at, bringing Port Huron back. A lot of new stores, a lot of new things, trying to get people back to downtown. I know I talked with the EDA about, like some stimulus money where they get some and maybe give out 500 or 1,000 to different stores or to different people. Some of those things we don't necessarily need that little shot in the arm today. What we need are cool things that make in flowers, artwork, those type things make our city beautiful, and that's going to bring people in our downtown. It's nice to see people walking through our downtown. There are some stores that are putting speakers out and putting their own music out. But we have speakers on all the street lights, and so those we need those key things that are going to bring people into our town so that the stores have customers. We're getting stores in our downtown, so we want to beautify our downtown to get customers in there to buy and shop and dine in our downtown. So I know we've talked about it. We've heard stories that it's coming, we're going to get it, this problem here, that Sparky there, it's like, but, we need to put a format together and a plan of how we can make it happen. We need proper watering in our flower beds. We need them big overgrown trees. I know they're expensive, but we need those things either cut down or trimmed really good or replaced 1 or 2 a year. So we need proper watering for those flower beds, and we need some music in our downtown and hanging baskets. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the city council under this public hearing about Huron Avenue Streetscape project? Our city manager has a comment.
Yeah, sorry, just a little information for everyone that's here tonight, because I think Mr. Jones brings up some excellent points. So we are working right now on the irrigation. We have a problem specifically on the Military Street side of pressurization issues. There's too long of a run for the pressure that's there. We've been working with engineering to we have to tap a new location on the water main and install a second access point to get the pressurization there. One of the key problems we're having is we can't get contractors to do the beds downtown. So last year I was able to get 3 quotes that helped on the transit center lot, but downtown we can't get any contractors who want to do the work. We did have 1 quote to mulch the beds. It was $15,000, which is extraordinary. So one of the other issues we're having is because of the unemployment and the benefit situation around the country right now, and it's a lot of things other businesses are facing, is we can't get seasonal workers. We can't get people to come to be seasonal workers because they're making more money on unemployment, whether that's right or not. We cannot get seasonal workers. We cannot get seasonal workers to weed whip downtown, the cemetery. We're really failing to get people who can do work mowing and weed whipping around the city, let alone people who are mulching. We have been lucky that the city has acquired 1 seasonal worker for downtown. We're hoping to get a second one on, student workers who are going to work weeding, keeping the sidewalks clean, spreading mulch and plants. We also have some volunteer days planned with some local businesses that are going to help get that done. The special assessments are not enough to cover the cost. So in addition, the large bulk share of it is snow removal in the wintertime on the north side of the bridge. The property owners on the south side of the bridge voted not to have that. We're always willing to readdress that if the new property owners want to change that. But we still subsidize the streetscapes every year because the assessments aren't enough to cover the costs. And this year we also are not raising the streetscape costs in any way. So my call to action is if anyone has a high school kid or a college kid who needs a job, is sitting at home, we will hire them. We need seasonal workers desperately all across the city. We cannot get them to apply. So we're desperate for workers.
What about the flower basket issue?
The issue with the flower basket is it takes 1 watering, and we don't have an irrigation system that's capable of doing the hanging baskets. 2, we have 92 planter beds right now. Most communities that have hanging baskets also don't have planter beds. So if we can't get the watering to work on the planter beds, we'd have to address that with the watering issue. And if I can't find someone to plant, I can't find someone to water. So we need to get workers in, get people who are willing to water, weed, and work downtown, and then we can address the planter issue. Because I know we want to make the planters an issue, the hanging baskets were an issue. Last year we wanted to get some this year. I just don't have the manpower or even the contractors who will do it.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on public hearing number 1?
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Emily Wallace. I'm one of the owners of Mosier's Jewelers. We're closing, I'm retiring, but we still are property owners. Until we are, I'm still very concerned. There is a problem with the watering in those beds. I personally spent my own personal money putting flowers in again this year, and the watering is insufficient, and half of them are already dead. That's troubling. Now, for the last couple of years, I personally volunteered and got other people to volunteer, business owners, friends, family, anybody I could hoodwink to come help weed, and we did pretty good. I think there are some small companies that would jump at taking on the beds, but large contractors, no, they probably aren't interested in that job. What was successful was I was working with the county, and I worked with the individuals who were doing community service, and I worked with those crews, and that was pretty successful, but you have to be right there on them, and you need somebody who knows gardening to make those beds worthwhile. We've got tens of thousands of dollars worth of plants going down outside of McMorran, and they just are going to waste because no one is there tending them and weeding them. So I think you do need somebody, you need to hire a gardener, and then you need to get volunteers so that that gardener has some manpower, because it's just too much. There are like 90-some beds, and they are inappropriately planted and well overgrown. I mean, how long ago was that streetscape? It was many, many years, and those plants are past their useful life. So A lot needs to be done down there if you're going to make it look nice, and we're going to make it look inviting, which I think we really need to do.
I agree.
Because otherwise, it looks like a dump.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. And here comes our city manager again.
Just one last thing to note, exacerbating our problem is all across city operations. Because of COVID-19, we have not had access to any community service workers in any department in the city. So we rely heavily on community service workers. As she mentioned, she's absolutely right. Because of COVID, we have no community service workers. So the onset of the spring, getting ahead of all of our landscaping and yard work, we have not had any community service workers.
I know this is an unusual year. Is there any other comments under public hearing number 1? I'll declare public hearing number 1 closed and ask for a
Mayor?
motion. Oops.
Sorry, I just want to make sure, since this first one is, I have a property in that,
Correct.
I'm going to make sure I recuse myself from this discussion and vote. Thank you.
I need a motion to adopt the resolution to continue the special assessment district.
So moved.
Support. Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, supported by Councilmember Ashford. Is there any comments from anyone? Councilmember Harris.
If I could, I just wanted to thank both Ms. Wallace and Larry Jones for coming down here and bringing up the subject tonight. I think it's been several years since we had anybody in downtown who would come in and kind of let us know what's going on and that was the south side. So I think it was James is starting to get a complicated issue much of everything else this year. But I guess a good start would be if we can empty these beds this fall and start from scratch in the spring, maybe we can really make the border look beautiful. So thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Is your mic on, Councilmember? It didn't sound like it was very loud. You might want to just check. Thanks.
Mayor, I would just like to thank Emily and Jones up there for coming forth also. And I kind of agree. I know this is a difficult time, but I think there's infrastructure you can put in to get ready for what we want to see without human beings being in touch. Just like you mentioned, the hanging baskets. I mean, those could be hung, the things that you put through them along there for when you do get ready to have that next step, and just put that in there. I think in as much as we can prepare before all that. No, you can't do a lot of other things because of COVID, but we can do what we can. Some things can't happen. And I agree that we need a plan. We need a master gardener to oversee this, and I know there are several master gardeners throughout our city and county that would volunteer, So, we just need to do some work behind this. Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments?
Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember.
I think it would be appropriate at this time to thank Emily Wallace for all you've done over the years and volunteering and heading it up. I know I've been in a business downtown now for 3 years and have worked with you and delivering flowers and planting and helping take care of those beds. So we really appreciate all you've done. And obviously we have to find someone to fill your shoes. But thank you very much for all you've done in the past.
Is there any other comments? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We'll move on to public hearing number 2, if you'd read it, please.
To hear comments on the continuation of the Downtown Special Assessment District for the ongoing maintenance of the Military Street Streetscape Project. Following the hearing, Council will consider adoption of the resolution to continue the Special Assessment District.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address public hearing number 2, which is the Downtown Special Assessment District, but for the Military Street portion of it? Is there anyone who wishes to speak about that? Seeing no one, I'll declare public hearing number 2 closed and ask for a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Councilmember Beeden, supported by Councilmember Pemberton. Any discussion?
Mayor Up,
Councilmember Warden.
I can speak on this one. I do want to thank Larry and Larry Jones and also Emily. And I see Mr. Fernandez here and Michelle. I know you guys are out there constantly doing work. My question is the resources that I've seen. Is the Beautification Commission that we have, are those people, is that a group that is involved with this directly as well, since it is downtown as far as the planting part? Or is that something that is totally separate?
Totally separate.
Okay. I just wanted to find out there, kind of put all of our resources together and see about that. But I do love the comments as well of the hanging baskets and some of the other things and the feedback. That's how we hear about ideas to bring them forward, so I appreciate you guys coming out tonight. Thank you.
Is there any other comments? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes?
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rapp?
Yes. Thank you. This is the time now for public comment. If there's anyone who wishes to make a public comment, you can come to the podium. Please give us your name and address, and you have 4 minutes.
Okay. Mayor Rapp and council, good evening. My name is Paul Miller. I've spoken to many of you before. I reside in Fort Gratiot, but I'm the morning host on WPHM. I'm joined right now by the grandson of our former general manager at Radio First, Larry Smith's grandson, Roman Ruiz, and Jason Nicolaic, my colleague at the radio station. You have before you tonight a request for the placement of a plaque honoring Larry Smith at Heritage Park on the Quay, and we hope that you'll approve this request. We can think of no one who loved the city of Port Huron more than Larry. Larry was born and raised and spent his entire career in sales and management of the radio stations at the corner of Huron and Glenwood, first for Wismer Communications, selling advertising for WHLS and WSAQ, then later as general manager of Radio First, the new company that was created when Liggett Communications purchased those stations and added WPHM, WBTI, and what is now WHLX. Over the years, Larry was responsible for creating the community roof sit for the Child Abuse Neglect Council, the Capture program, announcements that you hear on our radio stations, and the Cops and Jocks Spaghetti Dinner that funds that program, things like the Festival of Trees for McLaren Port Huron Hospital Foundation, and so much more. Larry cared deeply for the radio stations he managed, and in particular the people who worked for those radio stations. I think with every major decision that came up, Larry would ask himself, is this good for the community, and is it good for the company? Because Larry took the role of these radio stations in the community very, very seriously. Larry retired in 2014. I remember a few years before his retirement where he was having a hard time envisioning what retirement would be like. Wondered what retired people did all day anyway. But by the time that he retired, I think he'd seen enough of his friends retire and was ready to join them, and enjoyed years in retirement, traveling, spending time with his beloved family. Larry died unexpectedly in March. Because it was right at the beginning of the coronavirus shutdown, there was no public funeral for Larry. But as a testament to his impact on the community, the funeral procession from Smith Family Funeral Home to Lakeside Cemetery, which wound down past the radio station through Pine Grove Park and along Edison Parkway, that was Larry's favorite drive, when he'd take people on when they came to visit from out of town. There were dozens and dozens and dozens of cars in that procession. Another testament to Larry's impact on the community, raising the money needed for this plaque turned out to be incredibly easy. My colleague Jason Nicolaic started making some phone calls a couple weeks ago, and in less than a day had more than enough money pledged for the plaque. If approved, we look forward to a ceremony and celebration of Larry's life and his great love of Port Huron at a date to be agreed upon later by his family and friends. We thank you for the consideration of this request, and Roman has sort of encapsulated those in this letter that we're going to present to you now. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Joe O'Mara. I'm one of the Sanilac County Commissioners, and I'm running for the state rep position of District 83. So I wanted to come down and introduce myself to you. My family is settled in Sanilac County in the 1800s, and I grew up around Detroit and was one of 12 kids, and started working at a young age, and that was very beneficial to me. I learned how to work with people, and when I was a kid, I learned how to play music with Marcus Belgrave. He had this new Detroit jazz ensemble, and made some lifelong friendships there with some of the greatest musicians in the world. I went on to work hard, and I got a few degrees, and I became a partner at KPMG in New York, where I went into the the chairman's office one day and said, we have to go set up operations in China, and he sent me there, and I was the partner in charge of that office, and built that to $1 billion company. I've spent my life working with the biggest companies in the world. I'm a very detailed, technical-oriented person, and I know how to work with people. I know how to work with different cultures. I'm fluent in Mandarin. I can read, write, and speak Mandarin. What else? My political philosophy is basically just to, the cornerstones of any society are good schools, good police, good health care, and good infrastructure. I've seen, all of my time in China, I've seen, great development, and, that's going to be my primary focus. I'm really happy with what's going on here with the Blue and Green Group, the focus on economic development. I would like to continue and build on that, especially up in Sanilac County, where it's, the resources are a lot leaner, and to help that growth and capture more of the tourism revenue, the $30 billion a year that you guys are capturing. That's basically it.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council?
Hi, thank you, Madam Mayor and the council. My name is DJ Palm. I live on Lion Street in Port Huron, Michigan. I'm coming in response to Resolution 20-054 passed 2 weeks ago. And I want to walk back a comment I made about forgetting that it existed, because it's there and it exists. And I understood the truth of what was in that resolution. What I'm really afraid of was just the perception. And sometimes truth, whether it's fact or fiction, it's irrelevant. Perception is what sticks out. And that's still what I'm afraid of. So I agree totally. There are some social inequities here in Port Huron that need to be addressed. And I have some of my ideas to come to the table and compromise with you guys, because I agree it's not enough. I want to keep going, and it's all out of love. I love every single one of you. I think this is the best city council in the country. I stand by it. I was just thinking around town, why do we have a country, rock and roll, pop, and talk radio stations, but we don't have any hip-hop or R&B? I mean, the country station plays Sunday morning classics, and I think a hip-hop and R&B station with some Sunday morning soul on the way to church in the morning would be some good for some healing around here, for sure. Not to mention, we have great hip-hop talent here in Port Huron that if we gave them a platform here to launch, Governor Gretsch would have 10 boxes of Cartier sitting in her desk in Lansing right now. I mean, these guys are really talented and send good messages, and not just on the music, but on the videography, the editing. They can put it all together themselves. Very much talent down there. And while funds are being raised for the Sons Youth Center, if there's some way we can get a transit system for the kids down there, because reality is their parents, they can afford the memberships down at the Y, but transportation can sometimes be unreliable. Cars break down, unreliable cars as it is. So if we can keep our kids playing and uniting with one another, the more we learn about each other, and I think us parents, which I am not, thankfully, I don't know how some of you do it, but I think we can learn more about our kids as adults too, as they grow and play together. So just some ideas spinning. I wanted to contribute to unifying and not dividing. And like I said, you guys are the best city council in the country. I feel so blessed to come home to you guys. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Madam Mayor and the council.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the city council this evening? Seeing no one, I'll declare public comment closed, and we will move on with the agenda. Under from the city manager, number 1, please.
Accepting the quote from Punchera LLC in the amount of $14,475 for the purchase and installation of new playground equipment at Palmer Park.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, is there a second?
Support?
Councilmember Pemberton? Go ahead.
I don't want to goof this up because the eye in the sky is watching at home, and she lectured me on making sure I get this right.
Okay.
So, Nancy, above, I know you're listening. All right. This piece here is part of a larger DNR program. We have a $50,000 DNR grant for play structure at Palmer Park. This is in addition to that, to support that. This is an innovative play structure. The reason why it's coming before you now is because Nancy got it pretty much half off. And so if we buy it now, we're going to save a remarkable amount of money. I think the savings is over $8,500 just in the initial discount. It's about a $25,000, $30,000 a piece. So Nancy wants to move forward with this purchase now, and it will be installed all together with when we do the DNR program later on, which would be, I think, next spring.
Looks like a spider web.
This is the innovative thing. You climb in there. I mean, they're popular. So, yeah. But anyways, that's the reason behind it. It's just one of those things where it's such a good deal. It's almost half off that we have to act on it now to get those savings. But we'll go in with the broader play structure through the DNR grant.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, questions from council?
Yes. Is this replacing any equipment? Are we taking anything down to put
Yeah,
this up?
when we do the whole DNR program, they're going to replace the entire play structure at Palmer because it's aging out and there's some safety issues that we need addressed.
Okay, and do we have a plan moving forward? I know we have other obsolete playground. Nancy talked about it before.
Yes.
So is there a plan that we're going to?
Yep, there's a whole
Do
capital
it.
improvement plan for the playgrounds we have 10 different playgrounds that are key in the next 5 to 10 years, and we're searching for funding right now.
Oh, okay, and is there a criteria set up as to how we're going to go by putting these in?
Yeah, immediately is the first one is what's safety issues. Safety is number one. We find the most play structures that could be dangerous or pose a risk of breaking and being dangerous. Those are prioritized. The next one will be Gratchet. That's the next one on the list. That's the next one that needs to be taken care of. So we're looking for funding for that now.
And I would hope usage to kids, populated areas where kids are?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, thank you.
Any other questions, discussion?
Mayor Rapp,
Councilmember Warden.
I just want to comment on, again, to Nancy Windsor, looking at this, taking advantage, like you mentioned, a special inventory discount over $8,500 on this. You know, it's just always on top of things with a million things on their plate, but it's amazing. I totally support taking advantage of this, and just great work. Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes,
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We'll move on to item 2, please.
Approving amendments to the 2019-2020 budget for end-of-the-year adjustments.
Is there a motion?
so move.
Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. Is there discussion?
Mayor, you
I
can
think-
ask the, oh, I'm sorry,
You
somebody raising?
Yeah,
Oh,
Councilmember
I'm sorry.
Harris.
Mayor Rapp?
Yes.
Thank you. Is this kind of a preparatory budget? You know, the end of the year is until June 30th, and I'm looking at this and saying, you know, we've got some expenditures, and how about we close the books before that?
So this is a preparatory budget, so we amend, I think a couple things back in this. One, you have the COVID expenses, some unexpenses there, but that's because this is happening in the middle of the year. You're right, we'll have some bills that come in after July. We also have closing costs for our contracts last year, about $518,000. It represents the vast majority of it. We're initially scheduling a full transfer from the land purchase of $800,000. We do not anticipate we'll need all of that, but we put that in there as a placeholder just in case. We just want to be sure to gauge the COVID impact on our income taxes. We think that's pretty much it, but we want to make sure, so there's a little cushion there. But we do anticipate on the other side of this that we will have some type of amendment next year. But right now, our COVID impacts are not as not as detrimental as we initially thought. They're still bad, but they're not as devastating as we initially thought. So hopefully we'll see that as this continues, but again, we don't know how fast the recovery is going to be, and we don't know how fast our income taxes will come back.
I guess the question is because the dynamics of what's going on in the world today, especially in the United States and stuff with the pandemic and then the other issues and stuff that are coming up. And, I just was hoping, that if we waited until July, we would have more of a final statement because, anything could happen the way it's going right now. But, I hope that we come back with, like you say, a better budget solution than we have right now. So, thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Did you have a comment, Councilmember Ashford?
No, it'd just be redundant. It
Okay.
fit into his.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments?
Mayor Rapp?
Councilmember Warden?
Yeah, just a quick, just on that comment from Councilmember Harris. Is this something that somewhere in July or August that you guys are going to come back with another potential amendment? This is just an increase to catch all, and hopefully the real numbers come in under?
We believe we'll come under this.
Yeah, because I see the property taxes, we know we had an increase over the adopted budget was already up, and now it's an increase over 100,000 expected, even higher. And of course, the income tax is you're kind of, we don't know where that's going to come in, so you're kind of taking off about a $200,000 little buffer there just in case.
Correct.
See how that comes in.
You're correct. And also, one of the things that's hard to gauge is the savings that we're seeing right now. I have a significant amount of our staff furloughed. We have operations that are still not fully operational. And so it's hard to really peg that number of what those savings will be. But we have been very conservative with the impacts of COVID, and we have been very robust in our actions to reduce costs now. So the furloughs, not filling vacant positions right away. We have several vacancies within the city that we have held off on filling till we know what the full impacts are. And every day that we have those positions empty are days that we're having savings. Every additional day that people are furloughed is days that we're having savings. So we're hopefully, we're not just looking at the revenue side, we are addressing both sides of the balance sheet here.
And I just want to point out again, it looks like the state shared revenues came in as the adopted budget, $4,420,000. Actually, we're saying we're getting higher revenues, $370,000 higher. Some of these things are good to see that they're coming in higher than the original budget for revenue. Thank you.
It's also noteworthy that the state treasury sent out a memo that revenue sharing will be reduced by about $90,000 in the next fiscal year.
Yep.
So we have to look at the long-term impacts of this.
Any other questions? Thank you. We will take the vote.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes,
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Mayor Rapp?
Yes. I'm sorry, we'll move on to resolutions. Number 1.
Authorizing and approving the submission of the city's amended consolidated plan for 2015 through 2019 and the amended annual action plan for program year 2019 to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the review and approval for the purpose of adding the addition of CDBG-CV funds.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Pemberton, is there a second?
Second?
Go ahead. Councilmember Beeden. I know you both kind of said it at the same time, so. Is there any comments, discussion?
Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Ashford.
I'm on page 29, under summary of public comments. And I know we had 2 people come before us with public comments, Tyrone Burrell and Arnold Kuntz. And when you read further into the document, it says that the Blue Water Area Rescue Mission was somehow embedded into the capital improvement. Is that correct? Capital improvement plan? I didn't say it down here, but I just read it. I just wanted to know this rationale.
So we're adopting the plan that was adopted last year.
Oh, okay.
So we're amending the plans. We already gave money to the Blue Water Rescue Mission.
Yeah.
Sun's referring to the coming year. So this is amending the last plan with additional COVID response money. And so the Sons was referring to the new plan, which we are working on right now to bring to you. But this is we essentially emergency amendment to the old plan to get the COVID funding out.
Okay, so this is capping off the old plan, it's kind of like
Yes.
a rollover into the new
Correct.
transitioning.
And we are working with Sons right now on both a site plan review and a funding request through CDBG.
Oh, okay, and then also, stay there, and then also under, page, bear with me here, page 41, you know, when we have to document things, you know, for, proof of, just proof of documentation, say where there's a summary of response, attendance, and I was just noticing, we had a lot of people that spoke to, that came to the meeting, and I didn't see them in here.
This is
listed.
referring specifically in the yellow to the public hearings regarding the COVID money.
Just the COVID?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, that's CDBG, and this is COVID.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
it's all CDBG, but in the amended part, we're only saying that the two public hearings for the COVID money, we had no one came to speak specifically about COVID.
Right, yeah, and I understand, that's set aside from there,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you so much.
Yep. I should have clarified that. Thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Mayor Rapp,
Yes, Councilmember Harris.
I'm just trying to look at the comparison here between what's on our agenda tonight and the posting that was in the Port Huron Times-Herald on June 15th. And, June 15th speaks to the community block grant funds of $785,000. And it gives a list of the different things and stuff. And it's pretty much what we did in years past. And the issue I had with that, number one, was the neighborhood cleanup. It's an effective tool, but we're only going to spend $5,000 on it when we have 10 neighborhoods.
We still have funding from the previous years in CDBG, so it'll be pancaked on top of old funding. So this is for this current fiscal year, but we still have money for eligible CDBG activities that we haven't been able to expel. For instance, senior emergency repair fund grants. We still have money from 2017-18 for seniors who still haven't used that funding. And so that's one of the issues that we have put our Community Development and Social Equity and Inclusion Office on, is making sure that those resources are more widely known. I don't believe we're not giving away the money because the need's not there. I believe we're not giving away the money in its fullest potential because people don't know about it. They don't have access to those resources. Same things with the cleanup day. We have some funding from previous years that we'll use, so this $5,000 will go on the money we already have. And I believe they plan on doing 2 cleanup days this year. And we're working with different community groups to help organize that.
Well, it worked exceptionally well. So
It did.
that's,
I believe last year we did Rock the Block with Habitat for Humanity, tremendous success. I believe we're looking at partnering with them again in the Chamber of Commerce for another Rock the Block event.
And lastly, on the public notice on June 15th, they speak to the code enforcement part, and it talks about the blight enforcement and stuff, but it limits it to census tracts 10, 0, 40, and 20. And if you look at our census tract for the city of Fort Young, we're excluding a lot of areas that really need enforcement.
Well, we're not, because the CDBG money pays for only a portion of the code enforcement, and then the fees pay for the other portion. So those CDBG-funded code enforcement officers will patrol those areas, and then the fees will pay for the code enforcement who patrol the other areas. So every area of the city has code enforcement.
And I guess the reason I brought that up is that page 35 on the annual action plan, it basically, and I don't know how we changed the forms, but like 20,006 and 10 community surveys, it reflects that 57.8% of the residents of the city of Fort Young are low to moderate income, which I don't question at all. But now we're saying the target area in Fort Young is 100%. And with the CDBG funds, we're supposed to hit the low and moderate income. And to say with it, to say this kind of conclusion, everybody leads everybody to believe that everybody in Fort Young fits that category. So it's kind of a,
I believe it's speaking to the, we don't have concentrated blocks of poverty, meaning we're a low to moderate income community, so in some neighborhoods, you may have someone who fits that income bracket. And so I think the reason why the broad language is we don't want to say we're only focusing on these areas, and we know there's need elsewhere. It may be sprinkled or peppered in those areas, but we know that need is there. So that's why they broaden it to the whole city, but I understand your point.
I guess that's what I see we have a comment period through July 13th for anybody that has any issues and stuff. And I'd like to share with a lot of people because it's interesting. Like we have areas in our neighborhood and stuff, and not just in the Harrison neighborhood, but on the eastern parts of Fort Young and some on the north in the Berry Street area and St. Clair Street and stuff. We get a lot of issues.
Well, I just want to be clear as well, we're amending the plan that's already exists. So this is, only thing we're addressing tonight is the COVID response funding. The rest of that, we can discuss when we develop the next plan as well. But the vast majority of this plan is already in place, already been heard by HUD. This is just a vehicle to get COVID funding out.
I have to ask you one question about that.
You pay my salary, so you can ask me all the questions you want. I'm on your time right now.
Since there's been a little clash between myself and the Economic Development Alliance of St. Clair County, who's claiming that they did not have to refund the FOIA request, if we put this $75,000 of this money into the Economic Development Alliance, what's going to protect us and for the city of Fort Lauderdale? I want to know this information. You know, this is shameful. I mean, here's an agency that spends money in the county of St. Clair, and I get a letter back from them that if you want to know the facts, or you want to know who didn't get the response money, then call the Times Herald or call my attorney.
So I don't have anything to say about that. But I will tell you they're a private organization for a reason. When we deal with companies, a city agency, I'm not allowed to sign a non-disclosure agreement by meeting in confidentiality with the company. So there's some things where having a private entity like the EDA does benefit the city. As for the COVID response monies, we'll discuss that. And you bring some excellent points, accountability of the money, and I want to talk about that. So the COVID response money that we're going to give to the EDA is not just a blank check, spend it however you want. We have to track where that money goes and report back to HUD. It also has to go to employees that are focused on low income to moderate employees and minority and disadvantaged owners. So not only are we going to track who gets the money, and I will be able to give you that report, we're also going to know the employees, are they supporting jobs for low to moderate income? So we want to make sure we're giving businesses that are serving and employing our target demographic with these funds. So we have a whole reporting mechanism that goes with it for HUD. So unlike other money the EDA gets, this money comes with well tracking and documenting for reporting for HUD. So you will have that information for this lot of money.
Well, I appreciate it. I talked to a business owner around over here on Theater Avenue, been in business for 40 years, and a month ago he was ready to shut his doors. So,
Yeah.
so thank you.
Also to point out some of the highlights again as well for the amendments is that there's typically a cap of about 15% of money can go towards service groups, meaning as much as we love our different community groups, we can't take all of our CDG money and give it out to every single group in the community that does good. We're limited to 15%, the rest have to focus on hard infrastructure and development. With this, the mayor and I held a meeting with the regional director of HUD, a phone conference. Was it Zoom or phone? I can't remember.
It was phone.
Yeah. And they have removed that cap. This is essentially a vehicle that the federal government, you can only get funds dispersed through agencies that can receive federal funds. And so that's why that cap is removed, so we can get money out to help with utility bill assistance, rental and mortgage assistance, to help with economic development. So all of these issues, that's the reason for the cap removal. It was how do we get money in the hands of people who need it the fastest possible. And I will tell you, I believe there's a lot of people, because we haven't done shutoffs and we haven't done penalties, there's a lot of people who have a large bill. And it's going to be monumental for low to moderate income families. And so we want to make sure that we have agencies in place and partners in place that when people struggle to get that bill paid off, that one, we can enter into a reasonable payment plan with them, but also find them the assistance they need. So we've made sure that we can't reinvent the wheel on systems approach of social work, but we have partners out there who already do an excellent job. And so if we can step up behind them, give them the resources they need to meet the needs of our residents, that's the kind of the model we've taken here.
Yeah, as a utility holder for city water, so we can help them with 3 months payments, so that's great.
We can give, but the issue is we can't give them money to pay their bill. There has to be an outside agency, a middleman, which the Community Action Agency will serve as that person. They also have caseworkers. They also have the processes in place, the tracking in place, to be quite frank, to do what we could never do. We just couldn't figure that out. So the Community Action Agency does a wonderful job, and we'll partner with them to make sure we have that funds available.
Any other comments, questions?
Mayor Epp?
Councilmember Warden.
Just a couple of comments is, we went through this initial shutdown, March, and nobody knew what in the world we were going to be facing. And businesses shutting down and just everybody's scared for their lives. And now we a little more educated and developed some different patterns of how we interact. One thing the community out there was different groups that, and you mentioned the EDA, I think it was, I don't know how long ago when it first kind of happened, you saw some small businesses be awarded like a $5,000 grant. And some different things before the stuff ran out. These are different programs. And then some of the other community foundation and so forth. One thing with these funds, I just thought, is there any caveat to have, if some business has already received one of those other grants, whether it was a $5,000 grant or 25, whatever the other one was, there's plenty of those small businesses, so to say, that didn't receive anything. Maybe they just weren't knowledgeable on how to apply or so forth. But if we're giving the money out to this group like the EDA, or is there going to be at least a little, and some of the other groups, is there going to be anything on there to at least now make sure to consider the other applicants that didn't get it? I don't know if we can put something on there.
And one of you bring up a good point, and that will be done. One of the issues as well is making sure that a lot of businesses that EDA serves are not in the city of Port Huron. This is for the city of Port Huron. The EDA is a countywide organization, so they have to be a city of Port Huron business. They also, again, have to serve our target demographics and meet the parameters of the CDBG funds. So not all businesses will qualify. Some businesses will qualify. It will be a lot of the smaller businesses, but that is the goal of the EDA, is to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity at some type of assistance, and they know who they've served and who they haven't.
I appreciate it because it's just, some mom and pop little restaurants still haven't opened. I mean, they never got $1. And little things like that are kind of a foundation, a backbone within our city. I want to make sure that, they consider that instead of the next people that are waiting, to potentially apply. But I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Before we go on to the vote, I guess because it's during this time, Bruce, can you put the picture up there? The only reason I want to bring this up is because now I got to find on my phone just a second. Okay, there's another one too. I got this comments from one of our Port Huron residents. Of course, one of the things under this program was the seed program. So, and I'm going to remove this for a second so I can read better. Was the seed program, which we put money into and mailed out seeds to, 1,000 homes, was it? Something like that.
We distributed 500 homes from City Hall. We distributed, that's another 1,000 from.
So I did get a thank you, and I guess this is, this picture tells it all. And it said, I won't read the whole thing, but I'm going to try and read some. It says, look at your seeds that the city of Port Huron gave to me and my grandchildren. They planted them in little pots until they sprouted, and then they transferred them into a big raised garden box that my husband made for them. I'd like to tell you personally that this grandma was very thankful for the seeds that you gave away. For my grandchildren to be able to experience up close and personally involved, they all helped transplant everything into the box. They put all the dirt into the boxes by buckets, and they are out there every other day weeding and watering, if not daily. Thank you for all involved, and sure hope this happens again next year. And hopefully my husband will then create more planting boxes. This picture of my 7 grandchildren who did 99% of the work on this wonderful project. Ages go up to 14 years old, as the oldest and the youngest was 7. And of course, my 8th grandchild, who is only 2, will definitely be sharing in the picking and the eating of our produce. Just wanted everyone to know how much they appreciated. They also like to make a special request that flowers be added to it next year, if you continue, because they would like to plant flowers all around the city of Port Huron. So there you go. We've got a whole future of little kids that want to do this. And what an amazing group of grandchildren they have. But how cool is this that she sent this picture? I just think it's really nice, and it's nice to know that we put money into a project that actually helped our residents, and their family had a project. So I thought it was important to share that. Thank you. With that, we will take the vote.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Rapp.
Yes. We'll move on to item 2 under resolutions.
Accepting the proposal from Dyke Security in the amount of $33,948.12 to upgrade the current security camera and equipment within the South MOC parking lot and the surrounding MOC building.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Councilmember Ashford, supported by Councilmember Pemberton. Is there discussion?
Madam Mayor and Council, so this is not a budgeted item. A couple of years ago, you invested in cameras on the inside of MOC, after we had a few issues where we couldn't even see the people in the cameras because the cameras were so old. Sorry if I'm wearing hearing there. And so we also at that time bought a hard drive for digital storage. I'm not going to disclose how many days we store our videotapes, but it is significant. So internal activity in the building, traversing within the building activities, counter interactions with people are videotaped. So if there's an issue, whether that be an issue happened with a visitor to City Hall, or whether that be I want to make sure that we're having quality customer service levels at the level we desire, and I review tape of customer service interactions. That was invested in City Hall with the new hard drive digital recording device as well for many days. Additionally, we have discovered that the facilities, the 360 parameter of the buildings, we do not have good camera coverage. We've had a few issues where we wanted to review tape and the camera quality just isn't there. So when people come to City Hall, we've had issues where people have a domestic issue or a battered spouse. They will literally seek refuge coming to City Hall. And we need to make sure that people know that this City Hall is visually recorded, it is well seen, it's a safe place to come, and we have to invest in our camera system. We're using Dyke because they did the last camera system upgrade. They know our facility. It's a superior product. They also interface with the internal components, meaning our digital hard drives, recording devices that we already have. They can tie into that. And so that is the reason for Dyke. I have Chief Platzer here if you'd like the more technical answers as to what the cameras will be. It'll be a 360 view of the facility, but if you want a more technical answer, he did the procurement on it. We did get several quotes. This was actually slightly higher. It was one of the higher bids, but it's better quality product than what was being offered to us. So it wasn't really apples and apples and oranges. It was a lower model camera system versus a lower model head. And so we wanted to make sure that we had the same level of quality inside and outside. It's also an internal control measure as well. We're able to track vehicles coming in and out. This is just industry standard, but it's something we need. And we have had issues where it's become an issue we can't review tape outside.
Any questions for the city manager?
Mayor,
Councilmember Warden.
just popped in my head. A lot of people go down, I don't know if they use the little south side here for fishing off there, but a few times I've just driven down there on a nice sunny weekend and stood out there to watch the boats and stuff like that, but just to also see the people walking up and down. Are you gonna be, is that gonna be intrusion on that area? Or is this just the parking lot for parking lot safety and that?
The focus is a 365 around the perimeter of the building. There may be some overspray with some of the cameras, but that's not the focus. The focus is making sure the facility itself is secure, our assets that are in the parking lot, our assets that are around the building are secure, and also that should any resident seek refuge here, the people they know that this is a well-visualized, well-recorded place and that everything will be documented.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Councilmember Harris.
Does that include the safety area that we have?
Yes.
That's huge. I see a lot of people using that. It's just a great place to use that for where we may go.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just want to bring something up. I was at a meeting the other day with Ed, and we qualify for a grant reimbursement through our insurance company, MMRMA. So the other day we did the paperwork, and if it goes through, which we're anticipating, we'll get $11,202.87 back on
Oh,
this.
perfect.
So
Yeah.
we submitted the paperwork, and we should know in a week or two. But every other grant that we submitted for, like our tasers, body cameras, we've got approved for it.
Good. Sounds good. Thank you.
Bring my ringer in to close the deal.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, Councilmember Ashford.
Yeah, I think, Chief, I think the discount or whatever, the grant is good, but I think even if we didn't have a grant, the climate in which we're trending now, I think it's more than, it's not even an option not to have proper cameras throughout here. So you just never know, and we need to be prepared going forward, just like we did for the body cams, all that. So to me, it is very much needed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Warden,
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes?
Councilmember Beeden,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We'll move to item 3, please.
Approving the request for a plaque in recognition of Larry Smith at Heritage Park on the Quay.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, supported by Councilmember Ashford. I can think of no one more deserving than to get this plaque than Larry Smith. Is there comments that, I know you probably might want to make some, Sherry?
Sure. Yeah, I was going to say that. So Larry's a great mentor and a dear friend to many in this community, including myself. And I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody in the community that would not support this. I want to say thank you to Jason. When he reached out to me about navigating how to handle this, I got to say, I was touched beyond belief. I knew the family would be, wish I would have thought of it, in all seriousness. It's a wonderful thing that you're doing, and I'm proud and honored to support it.
Any comments?
Oh, and I'd just like to say, I knew Larry too. You know, I used to work over at WHLS as a reporter, and he was my neighbor when I lived on Coventry Street, and I went by his house one time to do something. He had that great big dog. I had to jump on top of his car. He came up, he said, "What are you doing?" I literally jumped on the car and went, "Get that ferocious guy," you know. But anyway, Larry was always about Port Huron, anything he could do. And I'm telling you, he was all over the place. And I love Larry. You know, and we have another thing. My mother was, you know, she knew his mom and everything coming up. So we were kind of associated that way too. But this is what we want all our residents to be, a Larry Smith, and giving back and not asking for anything. He just wanted to do whatever was right. And you know, it was just, I don't know, it was melting. And I just hate that I didn't even know that you guys were doing this, because I would have actually donated some money too to this. But,
Oh, we'll still take it. I'm kidding.
oh, well, I'm still giving. I don't say anything that I don't back up. But I wholeheartedly think this is most appropriate, and it's the right thing to do. And thank you for doing this for Larry.
Any other comments?
Mayor Rep,
Yes, Councilmember Harris.
just one nice comment. Larry was a true icon in the ice arenas.
Yep.
Yep.
The Emerald and many of Northern hockey nights that was there. And Glacier Point and the kids were growing up, and that really never changed his knowledge.
He sure did.
Any other comments?
Mayor Up.
Councilmember
Larry Smith. Those who knew him, man, I was fortunate enough to meet Larry Smith, and he was absolutely one of a kind. Thank you very much, Paul and Jason and everybody. I know the family is left here, but he was one, fortunate enough to meet him back in 2000. And from the first time I met with him, with some friends and some other business leaders and people in the community, he was helpful. He was inspiration. And like the rest of council members have said, he is always, he would do anything. But his presence there was, he's very humble. And his personality is one of those that you smile every time you see him, and he smiles at you before you even said a word. So Larry is an absolute, this is a great honor to be able to get a plaque for him. And boy, his memory is fresh as, when I think about him, I just smile, not just tonight, but since I've heard of his passing, and that's just amazing. So we're very blessed. Thank you very much for bringing this forward.
You know, you talk about how long you've known Larry. I've known Larry since I was 17, and that was a lot of years ago. We used to both, a lot of years ago, we both worked at the Times-Herald together. So prior to his radio career, Larry had a career at the Times-Herald. We both worked there in another life many, many years ago. So he is one great guy and well-deserving of this. So we'll take the vote.
Before we take the vote, Paula, we should mention that, you know, going in Heritage Park, and when you look at all the ones that are down there, he joins,
Yes, he does.
he joins all of them. They knew each other. It's just a hall of fame of the best that Port Huron has, or had.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
true.
So that speaks volumes within itself.
That it does.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We will move on to resolution number 4.
Confirming and approving single-lot special assessments for fines, assessments, and/or the cost of removing blight, blighting factors, and/or causes of blight, as well as the abatement of nuisances.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Pemberton, is there a support?
Support.
Councilmember Ashford. Any discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Webb.
Yes. We'll move on to ordinances number 1.
Second reading and enactment. An ordinance to amend Chapter 12 Businesses, Article 13, Marijuana Establishments of the Port Huron Code of Ordinances for the purpose of extending the prohibition of marijuana establishments in the city of Port Huron with a sunset provision of September 30th, 2020.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Councilmember Ashford, supported by Councilmember Pemberton. Any discussion? We'll take the vote.
Mayor Webb.
Oh, Councilmember Warden.
I just had a quick question, if there was any, community feedback or anything that came from from the time it was first posted till now, that get shared through?
No.
Thanks.
You're getting lots of exercise tonight, James.
So Mayor and Council, this is, again, with the COVID, kind of shaking our whole world, and mentioned in the previous meeting about this, that, would have kind of held up a little bit of timing of the interaction and organization of this. I want to make sure I'm very, very clear with this being a potential for licensing availability to run the different or have different businesses in the city of Port Huron is what we're working on, or should be working toward, to see if it's available. My concern again is that this again is just a 90 days, it looks like, and I'm concerned that we've had a lot of people a year ago or even before that expressed some potential interest if there is a business opportunity that were from Port Huron, whether they're business owner families or people that came forward. These are very highly regulated and compliance operations now that it's been in existence with the state of Michigan. Several other cities and communities have adopted different versions of allowing certain businesses to be run and managed. And my thing is, we have such a great thing up here in this St. Clair County and the city of Port Huron, as you can tell, that my belief is that we really need to have a whole lot of allowance for the people in the community, the business in the community, not just a hearing, but for their involvement, interaction. If they do want something, or where would they be located, how many might be available, what they're like. And the other thing is that the state of Michigan is, my understanding is, even if this does go till September 30th and you guys come through with some ordinances and different things, the people haven't had time to plan, whether we haven't given enough direction if somebody does want to run one of these things to make that commitment and say, hey, what is it going to look like, what might be available, and then to go through the application process with the state of Michigan, which some of that stuff takes, I think, I just checked after last meeting, I think it's 89 days for an application just for a pre-qualification. This is something that we have to make sure that if it's going to happen, we need to have feedback, equal opportunity, make sure, and then also give people in our community time, if they're going to do it, to have a fair shot at these business licenses. And I just want to make sure I reiterate that again to Mayor and Council as we're sitting up here, that maybe some ordinance language and certain things like that might be able to try to get done. But even if it goes through the process, anybody that's going to start from scratch, they'll be way behind the other people in the state that have multiple areas. They've already been wanting to expand everywhere and do it. We need to make sure we give a fair shot, if it is, for some local people to step up and be involved. Those are my comments. Thank you.
If I could just add to that, just because we adopt an ordinance, if we adopt one, doesn't mean we have to make it effective the next day, meaning we could have an effective date that's a month or two later, which would give plenty of opportunity for anybody to look into what is required. We will take the vote.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
No.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. That concludes our agenda. We have a few announcements. We have a couple of city offices will be closed on July 3rd in observance of the Independence Day holiday, which is on the weekend. Yard of the Year nominations for the Beautification Commission's annual contest can be submitted to the city clerk's office by July 15th. And I also want to take a moment and acknowledge the celebration of Juneteenth, which was held this past weekend, and unfortunately it was in between our council meetings, so I just want to make sure I acknowledge that important date. And is there anything to come before us from council?
Mayor, I just like, just as I'm going to try to, after each council meeting, if there is something, I'll report as far as the resolution we passed. We just didn't pass it on paper, but I'd like you to feel the actions of the things that are happening in response to that. I had mentioned that we had a Senate bill out there that passed the Senate unanimously, requiring police training, bias training, and it was introduced by Senator Irwin. And what that means, that Senate bill, just in short, and that's all I'm going to give you is just a tidbit, is just that positive steps towards increasing accountability and transparency in policing. And in short, it requires law enforcement officers to complete training on implicit bias and de-escalation techniques. And like the mayor said, our police do train, they have trained, but this has all been added across the state of Michigan, go deeper into depth. You know, they know how to train, use guns, you know, marksmen, all that kind of stuff. But this type of training is really getting into the minds and, you know, and the behavior of how they react to situations when they're out there on the job. So that's what this bill is supposed to do. And of course, with every bill that we put out in the legislature, you know, there are, you know, some counter voices out there, and they're saying this is just the first step. I mean, not the first step, it is a step. But the protesters are saying this isn't good enough. They want big and huger things, you know, to see, like chokeholds and all that, et cetera, et cetera. But they're not stopping. They're going to keep continuously going until we can, you know, meet at the table and you know, and change ideas of how we see our policing going forward in the state of Michigan. So like I said, I'll come back and not give you anything long and drawn out, but just giving you, you know, the pulse of what is happening as far as our policing and stuff like that, any association, and also the equality of the equality going forward. We also are going to do something with that report out.
I'll add to that we did have a meeting last week with Kevin Watkins, which you all did get a copy of what he had sent through to me, saying that he was not, because he had requested to speak tonight, and was not going to come forward because he had something else, but also he decided after our meeting that he was going to wait. So we did meet with him and with Kim Brown, and they went over some of the things that they were interested in seeing happen. So the city manager is going to send out a little brief update to everybody on council, let them know what was said in that. So
That's good.
okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Anything else from anyone else?
Mayor,
Yes.
I just want to comment, and Anita, when we were talking about the plaque for Larry Smith, made the comment she wished she would have known she would have liked to contribute. So I would like to say too, I'm sure we probably could have asked anyone in the entire community and they all would have given. So don't feel slighted. We appreciate and know that everyone would have contributed. this response was overwhelming. The funds were raised within a matter of hours for what needed to be done, literally. So we appreciate that sentiment and know that anyone probably would have stepped forward, but all of the funds that are necessary have been raised. So with that, rather than contributing, we will just ask that you come help celebrate.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Anything else for
Mayor,
Councilmember Warden?
just a question if we can, a couple updates. I'm just wondering, saw some pretty good traction with the McMorrin seats initially, and I just was wondering if you had any idea or update on kind of how that's going. I know Nancy's not here, so just wondering about that.
So all the new seats are installed.
Good.
They have to re-sticker the seat numbers and row numbers, because, we just put them all in, so they're different seat numbers and row numbers. Didn't even cross my mind. Luckily, someone else was thinking on that one. So they're working on re-stickering them right now. If anybody wants to tour McMorrin and see the seats, even anyone in the community, if you have some time, just call it McMorrin, and if they're there, they'll let you come in and see the seats. It looks really cool. They're now in the process of the LED lighting. I was out there 2 days ago, and they were actually programming a couple of the lights to see how they work, and there's like an iPad that does it and all that, so they're playing with that. Those will begin being installed over the next couple of weeks. And we really want to get McMorrin up to snuff for the fall, in case we are able to have hockey games, and hopefully we'll be able to have hockey games. So they're all installed. We've sold more than 400 of the old seats.
That's what I was wondering.
We have a waiting list of more than 2,000.
Okay.
So we've now limited the number. You can't get 4 seats anymore. You can only get 2. And the reason for that is we want everyone to have an opportunity to buy a piece of history. Also, a lot of the seats that were in the arena, we did not realize the damage to them. Meaning, as we were taking them out, because there's times you go in there and there's a cloud, like literally fog. You got its own weather pattern inside McMorrin, and the years of that water condensation has played a toll on a lot of the seats. So cracked frames, broken frames. We can't sell those because of liability issues if they have a broken frame. So a lot of the seats were destroyed in the removal process, but we still have a lot of them left. So we want to make sure that we fulfill those orders. If you've emailed in a request, just hang tight. Because of COVID and limited people working, we don't have time to go through all 2,000 requests, so Rob and the staff are making their way through there as they can, but now it's 2 at a time instead of 4 at a time.
The other thing, just to follow up, is last meeting, some of the parks, some of the facilities or parks were starting to be opened, and she mentioned be patient because, of course, the amount of staff and trying to get over there. But how are we doing for a majority of our parks and
all the playgrounds are open, all the basketball hoops are up, everything's operational except the pools.
Unbelievable. That is outstanding to pull that off. People can enjoy the summer. The one comment I have is just for not only our police chief and our police department, as kind of these things come up through, like we just had last meeting. I just want to say one thing we have here in the city of Port Huron, and our police department is second to none as far as integrity and just first class. And I'm very, very proud of them going with these different protest marches and things on the front there that we should be very, very proud of our police department. Absolutely outstanding, and you guys stay safe through this, and it's very, very important for our community. And the last thing is the next meeting. I think there's some things about the Mackinac to race, and they're still going to try to put that on. And some of the restaurants, I think downtown, there was some. It was kind of cool that they're putting some tables out and around for outdoors and trying to let some of these our businesses and people down. There's been an awful lot of traffic now already, and that for people getting out of the house and walking around, it's been great. So I just want to make sure we keep it top of mind. If we can continue to do that without any too many restrictions, or allow that to happen, to allow people to enjoy our downtown area, as well as the city as a whole. But that's something that's very important to kind of get that back in. So And I think, I don't know what's going to happen with the boat week. I think must be left up since that's officially not there. Imagine that just regular business as usual for the individual private owners and the businesses and groups to enjoy that week as they may.
Yeah, bring up our next point. The race is still scheduled to go on, but it's going to look very, very different as we can't have major festivals. In addition to that, Blue Water Fest, we couldn't raise the money. So it typically takes about $130,000 to $140,000 at Blue Water Fest. It would be no way appropriate to go to local businesses during COVID-19 and ask for money. We just can't do that. The boat races right now, they're about 50% what they normally have. But a little issue that they're having now is that the DNR docks at Mackinac Island are not open yet. And they don't have clarity if they will be open. So it's foreseeable where a boat could start the race here. They can go to Mackinac. They can stop for a brief moment to drop crew off, but then they must leave. There's no room for them. There's private docks will only hold so many. So we anticipate that the amount of boat traffic this year will be very, very, very much greatly reduced than what it is on any other year. And we don't know the full implications because people had thought you always just go up there and tie off for the day or 2 days. You can't do that for the most boats this year. So the DNR is not opening those docks. So we are anticipating smaller boat crowds. I'm confident to support Huron. Before there was a Blue Water Festival Committee and before there was a Blue Water Festival BDA, there was just residents who had a good time. So I would imagine we'll see some version of a pub crawl emerge organically downtown. And to be quite frank, we make a lot of money on the beer tents and the booze tents and the food vendors. And maybe this summer, our downtown restaurants and business owners could use that influx of cash. So if you're going to go downtown, be safe. We're not closing down the roads, so get a walking buddy, be safe, and visit these downtown restaurants. And instead of spending your money at a beer tent or a concert or a food wagon, go downtown and give it to the restaurant owners who need it.
And, yeah, kind of piggybacking on that, that's what I was trying to, looking ahead, since our individual restaurants and owners there, we're allowing a little more for capacity to be outside some tables and that. Is that, I think if we can look into that, it should be very, very flexible for them to also do it during that whole week as well, so they can generate some business. I don't know what the restrictions are going to be, but if there's a extension of that, so we can allow them not to worry about having outdoor seating or somewhere around their
We have no intentions of changing those tables all summer.
Okay, but I'm just thinking up and down all the businesses for that, so thank you.
Is there anything else or a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Meeting adjourned.